gonna go ahead and do another fly tying video for you. A lot of people have been requesting a little tutorial on how I tie my little mini dungeons, the ones that me and Ryan were using. He ties his a little different. I don't know his specific pattern, but based on what I saw that one day when I was fishing with him, is how I came up with this one. I mean, it cuts out a lot of the things, well, not a lot of the things, but some of the stuff that the actual dungeon has, and I replaced the deer hair head with a wool head just because I hate tying with deer hair. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys here what materials we're gonna use for this fly. I'm gonna use a Firehole 811 size 8, both for the back and front hook, some small gold wire, centipede legs, speckled brown small. These are optional really. And then some saddle hackle in olive, the ice dub golden brown, this is used for the body, scalping wool in olive, that's for the head of the fly. You could use deer hair. I just hate deer hair, and I think that the wool gives it more of like a natural movement in the water. And then some olive marabou, that's just used for like the tail and some filler in the body. So we'll go ahead and get into it here. And real quick, forgot to show you guys little Maya here. She's sleeping again. That's why I went ahead and decided it was time to tie, because if she was awake, I don't think I would be able to tie. But yeah, she's getting a little bigger. Once I'm done with night shift here, she's going to be going on her first little fishing trip with me. I think I'm going to go fish for some brook trout, and hopefully we'll get like a nice little video for you guys. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start by putting our first hook in the vise here. Straighten it out. And then so for this fly, I just use, we're going to tie an olive, but I just use black thread. It just saves like the confusion of, having to figure out, oh, I need this thread and I need this thread. Now I do carry other threads for like nymphs and stuff, but for streamers I just carry black and white. And I mean, to me, streamers, there's so many materials on them, the fish really aren't gonna be picky with what the thread color is. So we're gonna just start the thread at the hook eye and work a nice little base backwards to the start of the bend of the hook. And just come in with your scissors and snip that off. Alright, so the first material you're going to get is some olive marabou. Now, because we're tying this like super mini, we're going to barely use anything for the tail. So like I like to grab about, and I don't use like the tips of marabou. I know that's like the best part. I save that for like the front of the fly. The back end of the fly, where it's thinner and stuff, I don't really get too picky with what part of the marabou I'm using. So I just pinch out about, I'd say like an inch of the bottom part of this marabou, and then just go ahead and kind of line it up in your fingers. And again, in my last streamer video, I was telling you guys I don't really like too long of a tail, just in case they do like a short nip on the fly. So I'm probably going to tie that in about right there. And again, this tail is going to be very minimal. Let's go ahead, do a pinch wrap, secure it on there, a few more wraps just to make sure it's on. And then I like to pull the rest of the marabou forward and just give it some loose wraps. This helps like make the fly a little more even on the hook shank. And then once I get it up to almost like near the hook eye, come and cut the excess material off. And then grab my thread and really tighten down on that stuff. Go back to where we tied it in. Next we're gonna grab, I'm just using some small gold wire. You could probably use medium too. I don't think it's gonna matter that much. We'll go ahead and tie that in here, wrap up a little bit, leave a little piece so that you can bend the wire backwards and then run your thread over top of it just so it doesn't pull out. know if you'll be able to see that on the camera or not, but there's a little piece bent backwards. Then we just tighten that down. And again, bring our thread back to where we tied in the marabou. And so for the body on this, I don't like to get too thick of a body, but because we're going like mini with it. I use this Iced Up Golden Brown. I know it's not olive, but once you wrap that olive hackle on there, and this is laying underneath, and you can kind of see it has like a little bit of like an olive shine to it anyway. But once this is underneath, it looks super good. So we're gonna go ahead and dub like a thin noodle on, and you know, dub that all the way up to the beginning here. And I just kind of do like loose wraps. Again, I don't like to get it too thick. It may take you a few doubling noodles to get it all the way to the front, because I don't put like a bunch on just in case. And then, common mistake I used to make was taking it all the way up to the hook eye, because I do that frequently with nymphs. But with streamers, I mean, we're going to be tying in a bunch more materials up here, so you want to you don't want to go all the way to the hook eye. You want to leave some room so you have some room to tie in the rest of the materials here. And then we're gonna go ahead and grab a little saddle hackle, olive. This piece is a little bit bigger. I think it's like all I have right now though, but as long as you use like the tip part where the fibers aren't as long, you'll be alright. So I go ahead and I strip off all this excess just to get it out of the way. And I'm probably gonna tie that in about right here. Right where I have that split at the top, so I'm going to pull the rest of that off so that it looks like this, and then I'm just going to cut this off. I'm trying to make sure the camera can see this, but so I'm going to cut this. I'm going to leave like just a little, you know, 1/4 of an inch tag on the end of this. And that'll be used as my tie-in point here. And you can just tie it in as like a little bit of an angle. It doesn't have to be perfect for like dry fly hackle. Really anchor that down so it doesn't come out. And then you can go ahead and start wrapping. I usually give it one full wrap in the front and then start angling it backwards. And I hold my finger, since I don't have a rotary device, I always say rotary device. Since I don't have a rotary vise, I just hold, as I make a wrap, hold my finger on it. It works perfectly fine. And then once you get it towards the back there, you're going to go ahead and grab your wire to counter wrap and give it a nice tight, secure wrap in there at first, and then you can make some pretty tight wraps up through here. They don't have to be super close to each other, but as long as they're holding in most of that hackle. So once you get it up here, go ahead and secure down your wire, helicopter off the rest once you get it just secured enough so that it stays. And then go ahead and hold your thread tight and then just pull back the rest of all of this hackle. And then just really hunker that all down. Alright, and so once you have that all secured off, the next step here to finish off the back half of this fly is just to grab like another 1-inch pinch of that marabou. And I just, again, use the bottom part. So go ahead and grab the rest of that off. Pinch it in my other hand and just, you know, make sure that it's straight. And again, you're not going to put too much on here. I don't even know if this is necessary to put on the back end here, but I just throw it on just in case. It helps add a little bit of movement, I guess, to the fly. And I feel like, so the key to this fly is to keep it very minimal. It's a very small streamer. I mean, you're tying like a sex dungeon pattern in a very small version. So you want to keep everything pretty minimal so you don't end up building up too much bulk on the fly. And I think honestly the minimal look of the fly is what, you know, makes it so great. It's got like a long slender body, and then the head of the fly is still bulky. So yeah, go ahead and finish off the head there, and then go ahead and come in and whip finish 3 or 4 turns. I think that was 5. Pull tight, snip off the excess here. And then with all my flies, I use head cement on them. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some UV head cement on here and let that cure, and then we'll go check back in. All right, so once you finish the back part, you're gonna go ahead and put in the front hook. Again, this is a size 8. I tie both parts with a size 8. I just cut off a little section of 20-pound mono. And for this fly, I don't actually, because it's so small and there's no flash or I don't put any legs or anything on it that's gonna get stuck in that middle section. I don't put a bead on it, so I just run the thread through the back of the fly, and we're gonna go ahead and attach it to the front hook here. Actually, first I gotta start this thread base. So start the hook eye again, and then just work your way all the way back to the bend of the hook. Alright, then once you got that in there, you're gonna go ahead and tie in your 20-pound mono that you have through the hook eye of the back hook on the near side to you, making sure that the back hooks is gonna set straight. And I don't like to leave like too big of a gap here when I'm using no bead. I mean, you can see that's very close up to it, and it's got room to move with no bead there, so you'll be alright pulling it pretty close. Just make sure when you're, you know, tying it in here, you just test to make sure it has enough movement. And then go ahead, work the thread up. It's up to you how far you want to take this up. Halfway is honestly good enough. I usually take it to about 3/4, and then once I get up to there, I grab each side, pull the far side to the far side, and pull the near side to the near side. Once those are both wrapped down, grab my thread and really just hunker them down about halfway back, and then I snip them off there. Once that's in, just work my thread back to where we tied that in. Okay. And so for this next part here, this is going to be the connection piece that kind of, you know, makes it all blend together. So I use a little bit more marabou for this piece because it's going to be the section that actually covers up like the head of the back fly and makes it look like it's all one piece. So I just usually use, I mean, if you have enough, just use the rest of what you used from that marabou feather for the back parts. So I'm just going to go ahead and make this all straight and tie that in about right there. It's up to you how much you want this to go back. I usually do about right there, about halfway back on the front piece of marabou on the back hook. Some people will just do it to about the head. I mean, again, it's all preference, so I put it about right there. Go ahead and do a little pinch wrap. Few more wraps to tighten it down. And then, so because we have that mono under here for the connection, it's already getting pretty thick. I don't actually wrap this up the hook shank to make it even, because then it just starts building up too much bulk. So I just kind of cut it off right there and hunker it down pretty good. And then we're gonna go ahead and grab another piece of gold wire. Go ahead and do the same as we did for the back. Just tie it in, work it up a little bit, and then bend a little piece back so that it won't get pulled out, and then really hunker that down. And then we're gonna go ahead and grab the ice dub golden brown and dub a little new. Now you're not gonna go up as far as you did on the back fly, like almost all the way to the head of the hook. You're gonna kind of go to that 3/4 mark where we tied off or where we ended the mono connection for the back fly, for the articulation. So I just kind of work it up to about that point. Again, not making it too thick. Just doing little pieces at a time, just so I don't put too much on there. I mean, you can always take it off, I guess, but I just like working a little bit up the fly. So that's probably about good right there. We're gonna go ahead and grab one more piece of hackle for the front here. Again, you know, find a piece that is gonna have the length that you're gonna want, and then just pull off the bottom from where you're gonna tie it in, and then leave yourself like that little 1/4 inch section to tie it in again. So it should look like that. Right there. And we'll go ahead and tie this piece in. And really hunker it down so it doesn't move. And then one full wrap, and then once you get one full wrap, you can go ahead and start working your way backwards with it. And once you get to that back area, you can go ahead and grab that wire and make a real nice tight pull on it so that it's holding that hackle in place, and then just work that up to the front. And then you can give it a few wraps of the thread in front just to make sure that it's secured there, and then go ahead and helicopter that off. Now again, I did this in my last video, I think, too. I forgot to go back here and actually cut off the hackle piece or like the tip of it. So I'm going to do that right now. Cut off the tip of that one, and then we'll cut off the tip of this one that we just tied in. Okay. Then go ahead and just pull everything back and hunker that down and make like, you can build yourself a nice little even thread base at this point. We're gonna go ahead and tie in our last piece of marabou up front and the legs. I'm actually gonna tie in the legs first, and just so we can cover it up with that marabou at the end. And for the legs, I'm just using small like centipede legs, brown and black. Snip off like 2 pair like that. Just set them on the side about where the length is on the one side that you want. And for these, you don't want to tie these in tight, because if you tie them too tight, the thread will just snap or cut them in half. So just put one loose little wrap and then come over and crisscross it. I mean, these wraps they're basically just like sitting on it. So once you have those 2 little crisscrosses in there, just pull everything back, make a few loose ones, because you don't want to pull tight on that. You don't want to pull tight so that it cuts that rubber leg again. So you just make a few loose wraps, and once you get a few loose wraps, then you can start making tight wraps. And then those are not going to go anywhere, even though they're loosely wrapped. And then once you have them tied in like that, you can just pull them up and cut them all to the length of those ones that you tied in on the near side of the length that you wanted. So now they'll just lay back and they're all the same length. And you know, once we put this marabou in and put the head on the fly with the wool, these will sit backwards more. So we're gonna go grab one last piece of marabou, and this is actually a pretty big piece. Honestly, I think what I'm gonna do actually is probably just pinch about 2 inches from the bottom here. I mean, I don't know. Everybody uses this top. Everybody talks about using this top piece, but to me, I don't know. Once this is all wet, it's just not gonna matter. So pull off a pretty big chunk. You want this top piece here of marabou to be like your biggest, or where it gets thicker. You want the head of the fly to look thicker. So you're gonna pull off more marabou for this top piece. But again, not too much. This is a small fly, so. And then I like to, you know, tie it in just so it's, you know, not probably just laying back to where this piece is here that covers the middle of the fly. So probably about right there. Go ahead and do a nice loose wrap to get it in place. Make sure it's on top. And we're gonna come in here and just cut that off. And then once that's cut off, go ahead and hunker that down. And at this point, build yourself another little thread base for tying in this wool. And again, I use wool because I just hate deer hair. Deer hair is just so annoying to work with in my opinion, so I just use wool. And I think the wool holds water a lot better. So, you know, once it gets wet, it helps it with like sinking better, and it just kind of flows with the water better, I think. I mean, if you want a very like buoyant fly, I would say for like maybe if you're gonna be fishing like super shallow water with a streamer, you want to like run it through the rifts or something, and you really don't want to use wool and you want to get a little more float to the fly, then maybe use deer hair. But in my opinion, you know, if you just don't weight this thing, like we're not weighting this right now, and I'm gonna throw the wool on here, I think it'll be fine in any sort of shallow water with it. All right, so what I do is I get little pieces like this, little chunks, and then I just fold those in half. I mean, that's probably about 1.5 inches long. Fold it in half, and then once you fold it in half, you're gonna, I do the bottom first, so you're gonna kind of wrap it around the thread like this, and then you're gonna hold it like that, and keep tension on the thread, and just pull it up into the little thread base that you have there. Make one little wrap around it so that it's tight, and then I just throw like a thread wrap in front just so that it's held in place for the time being. I'm gonna cut off another piece of thread or wool here for the top, and again fold this piece in half. I do this so because it makes it thicker, and it, you know, it's less you have to actually put on here, because this stuff can be a pain to put on. And then you're gonna wrap it around that thread again, and this time you're gonna keep tension from the top and just pull it down onto it. It's gonna want to slide to the side a little bit. You kind of just gotta almost like manhandle this stuff, and then find like the crease and run that thread back through it one more time. Pull tight at this point, and then you gotta just manhandle that all backwards so that you have a little piece in front, and really just hunker that down so you know it's not going to go anywhere. And this part can be a little tough. You got to come in with this whip finish tool and whip finish that in the front here. And you just got to be careful because you don't want to actually cover up the hook eye. It can be a little tough. If you're having difficulties with this part, just look up like how to, you know, put on like or how to make like a wool head on a fly or something on YouTube. I'm sure you can find plenty of tutorials out there. I'm probably not the best at explaining that, so I'll leave that to someone else. And then again, we're just going to make a little, or put a little head cement on the front of the fly here. On here, pull that back, and just really just work it into there, keeping it away from that hook eye still. If you think you maybe got a little bit in there, just, that's a nice thing about using this toothpick, you can kind of just push it through to make sure that you don't have anything in there. And then we'll go ahead and cure that. And then we'll check back in a minute here, and we'll go ahead and shape up the head by cutting it, and then this fly will be finished. Done curing that. Again, you can weight this fly. You could throw some lead wraps down there or throw like some lead eyes on. Actually, I've been using these unweighted recently. I really like how they move in the water, and I've had pretty good response from the fish with the unweighted ones, so that's why I've been tying them unweighted recently. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and shape the head here. I might just do like a fast forward of this, but it's pretty, I mean, you can shape this however you want really. There's no set way on how it needs to be shaped. Alright, so we're done. I don't like to get too fancy with them because, you know, this thing's gonna get beat up, but I kind of go for like a cone look to mine. Again, it's not perfect, but I like the look of that little cone. I mean, it kind of almost looks like a little fish head. Could go, I mean, it could look like a sculpin, could look like a little bait fish, but yep, just a little cone. Shape it up. Doesn't need to be perfect. You know, it's not, you're not tying for a contest for prettiest fly. Just got a full fish, that's all. So that's it for this one. I know a few people have been asking for this one lately. This has been for especially for streamers. This fly, ever since Ryan showed me this fly when I was out with him that one day, and he got that big one on this little mini dungeon. I've been using them ever since. He's been using them ever since. Olive and black seem to be, you know, the two colors that really shine for this fly, but I'm sure like a tan, yellow, or even like I actually have a few little brown ones of this pattern too that I've caught some on. So yeah, just experiment with some colors. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you liked the video, leave a like. Leave a comment, any other flies you'd like to see me tie, or any other type of videos you want to see, and hit the subscribe button for more videos in the future. And until next time, peace.